Welcome to the Dark Arts Paranormal Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carr.
And I am Kristen Johnson.
Happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday.
We've got an open lines show.
Oh,
today.
we got a
It's gonna
great
be-
show.
It's going to be a lot of fun. We got a few people backstage waiting to come on and
Mm-hmm.
talk to you guys, but I know you have
I do.
message.
I just wanted to say happy birthday to my baby, my little girl, my daughter. She's 26 today. Happy birthday, Elizabeth.
Happy birthday, Elizabeth.
Also,
Awesome.
if my mom is watching and her girls that are out watching Kevin Bond, he's Elvis impersonator in Ormond Beach at McKenna's. Hello, girls. Hi, Mom. Hi, Dorothy. Hello, Lorna. Hi, everybody.
Hey, Mom.
We love you.
Hope you having fun. I dig the Elvis.
Yeah.
Yeah. Danzig did a cover of Elvis songs.
Did they really?
Yeah,
I didn't know
it
that.
did. I tried to play one for your mom while you were on the phone with her.
Oh, yeah,
but
that's
it
right.
sounds
We
just
can
like
hear
Elvis. It's actually pretty awesome, and he kept it true. It's not like metal. It's like Elvis. Elvis, but slightly darker. That would be the Danzig record. So speaking of dark, I was going through my feed the other day, and a weird article popped up that reminded me that I am Spanish. I'm 1/4 Spanish. I had a grandmother that was from Nicaragua, her family, and she was full-blooded Spanish. And that's Spanish, of course, because the Spanish invaded Nicaragua. And when you and I did our DNA tests,
Mhm.
I found out that, I do have some like Central American blood, right, in my veins. Not a wicked lot. I didn't even know she has that. It gets spread out through Europe and whatever. But this article was kind of intriguing, and I wanted to share it because, I'm nice. I like to share.
Okay.
Let me throw it up on the screen real fast. Let's see if I can do this. Share screen. Yes. Here we go. The ritual drug habits of the Maya. And I'm just going to read a little bit from this and show you guys some pictures because it's something I didn't know about, possibly some relatives of mine. The Maya and indigenous peoples of Mexico and Central America had access to hallucinogenic substances called entheogens. I'm saying it wrong.
Oh, we just heard
Jeez,
it. Too.
I made it play too.
Entheogens.
Entheogens. Basically psychedelics which are used to provoke an altered state of consciousness during spiritual rituals and ceremonies. And this article goes on to say the purpose of these substances was to reach a state of temporal and spatial disorientation, bringing the user a sense of inner peace and be one with nature and the gods, right?
Oh,
And that's all sounds great. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. Sign me up. Yeah, I can get closer to the gods. Consumption of these hallucinogens in the Americas can be traced back to the Olmecs, which I think were the original
Olmecs
ones that we know about, right?
Toltecs, yes.
The Olmecs had the big heads. They made the statues of those giant heads, right?
Yes.
Yeah. It was
Olmecs
wicked
yes.
cool. So it goes on to say, thanks to certain religious texts and Spanish accounts from the 16th century, they know this stuff. And it goes into like what some of them are. And there's like alcohol drinks, and there's some weird tobaccos and mushrooms, of course, right? Make the list. Graham Hancock is correct. And
it's not just Graham, it's Rupert Sheldrake, and
you
can go back and
definitely
Terrence McKenna.
And it goes on to say that they were doing these things, but what got me was the original picture, because the article goes into detail. You guys can see that there. That is not her other foot that's behind her in that picture. And I want
what?
Yes.
Yeah. I love when you say go with me with this.
Yeah. They administered these drugs through an enema like fashion. Basically, they were sticking the drugs up their ass.
Mom, I am so sorry. Please click off now.
I'm going to change our screen here because I wanted to. Well, I was fascinated. I did not know this.
I didn't either.
I have not heard Graham talk about how they put these things in their bum. Let me see here. Here's some more evidence. And if you look here, right, this is a gourd. So the gourd was the natural sort of syringe. They'd use these kind of leathery gourds.
Can you say ow?
And yes, look, right. It looks pretty large, right, to be doing this. Yeah, so I got at least one more, and we'll bring on our guests.
Yeah, I'm going to bring our comments too.
Well, I want to set the tone for the show.
Oh, Anne's laughing her ass off.
Thursday, and I want to have some fun.
We are going to have fun.
We're going to have some fun. We got to relax. Everybody's so serious.
I know. It's ridiculous.
Let me see here. One more, and then we'll be done with the bum stuff. So you can see there, and there's a painting, and yeah, that's not a bowling ball behind this. I don't know. This man.
You really scare me when you say, just go with me.
So, yeah, apparently this is what, I have relatives that may have done this. So I learned something new this week. Okay. They trip by sticking things up their bum. All right. So it's open lines, and we've got some wonderful people that want to join us. Absolutely. And come on, and we're just going to have open chat. And I'm going to open up the comments to see there's quite a few guys out there. It's awesome. I'm going to bring on author, a person who's been on a show a few times.
Mm-hmm. She's wonderful.
She is awesome. Mm-hmm. She wrote a book that scared the hell out of us called Omnipresent, and then Omnipresent, What Comes Next, and then The Colors of Heaven. And I think there might be something else. Her name is Lynn Monet. Hello, Lynn.
Hi. Oh, and I just wanted to let you know that they're still administering medication up the butt. And I've had to do it myself with this finger.
Fantastic. Hallucinogens?
No. Well, suppositories and pain meds. Yeah. I mean, you can put a Tylenol in your butt.
I mean, as far as I'm concerned, there are certain things that can go in your butt, but I was not expecting mushrooms to be one of them.
No. No. Do not try this at home. No.
Do not try this at home. That's right.
Do not try this at home. Oh,
that's right.
God.
Our show is Not Safe at Work, NSAW. And I'm going to bring on the rest of everybody here. Our next guest in the lineup is he runs the page Led to Light Productions. Has had a lot of paranormal experiences, and no stranger to the show. Reggie, welcome.
Welcome. Finally, welcome.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing okay. I'm
welcome.
having trouble not laughing right now because of what you guys are talking about.
Are you kidding me? Just go with it. I have no idea what he shows.
Anything.
Is this G-rated?
Yeah, right. No.
I tell Kristen ahead of time. She'll go, no. You can't do that. You can't do that.
You can't say that.
I don't say anything.
So that's why he does it.
So don't look at those tabs.
Nope.
And also, we have got Mr. Greg Koss with us.
Hello,
from the
Mr.
Shadow
Greg Koss.
Hour and Metaphysical Crossing. And Shadow Hunters Paranormal. Hey, Greg, how are you doing, buddy?
You got me speechless.
Yeah. See, and I thought, never mind what I thought.
See that? That background is psychedelic.
I'd have to go, I understand exactly because I used to do that kind of stuff with vodka too.
Oh my!
That's a thing. Did the Maya, who were big drinkers and would administer the.
Actually, no, that's a thing now, right?
Because it's so absorbent that way, and it doesn't take long to go ahead and get you loaded.
That's right. You only need like a little bit because it goes right into your bloodstream. Don't ask me how I know this.
Okay, so being nurses, Lori and I was a former nurse. People do soak this is so gross, tampons in vodka and shove them up their bum.
Wow. And is that what nips are for?
Well, if you soak one in it, yeah. I don't know.
And a lot of other things that they shove. Light bulbs. We had a guy come into the emergency room with a purple dildo about 12 inches long stuck in his. Oh, but don't even get me started on that.
I know. I worked in the ER for 2 years. I know.
Yeah. So we were talking before the show. The nurse folk in the audience have seen their share of junk, and I know this is not paranormal, but we'll get there.
What a way to go. What a way to start.
I know.
Oh my goodness. Thanks, Chris.
Yeah.
We're all blaming Chris
to set
for that.
the tone,
The spirits are leaving, running away in the room with their hands on their buttocks.
Are they blushing?
Dr. Michael Lynch says, yes, I was there at that party.
Oh boy.
Oh, was that you?
Oh, right?
Yeah, I don't remember. There's too much
Oh my
gourd,
God, this
I
is
guess,
great.
going around.
God, it makes you really, some of the things that people do with vegetables. I know Kristen, you've seen this too in the emergency room. Really
Yeah.
makes you to want to wash them about 6 times
Yes,
before
yes,
you actually cook them. Yeah.
Yes, very right. Yes.
True that.
I love vegetables, and sometimes after seeing that, I'm going, nope,
Oh,
nope,
yeah.
and nope in the supermarket. I just can't look at that right now. And we're
Yes,
just
people
gonna
have
keep
a
going.
weird kink, Eat your veggies.
Yeah.
Linda Judd's out there says in France, most of the medicines are applied that way.
Oh
The
my
bowels
God.
are super absorbent. Parlez-vous français?
Ah,
Eat your veggies.
Oui, oui. Hey, Courtney. Hey, everybody. So,
Doug's out there.
Courtney.
Doug's there as well.
Yep.
So, yeah, good. Good to see Ann out there again. Haven't seen you in a
Hi,
while,
Doug.
Ann. How are you guys?
Annie
How's
Marie is here.
everybody?
Yes,
And,
that's Anne Marie Young's husband, Doug.
Oh, is it really?
Yes.
All that said,
Good to meet you, Doug.
Sorry.
as goes.
No, I just bumped the cord. There I am.
You debunked it.
You
I
debunked it.
did.
No, for people who don't know, when I haven't seen you debunk
Yes, in a
before
comment.
on a show or on other shows, your books are true stories.
Yes, they
And,
are.
Yeah. Did you want to tell us a little bit about that?
The first book, Omnipresent, is a story about a house that I purchased about, my son is now 24. So that was 15, 16 years ago, that was so haunted that I never was able to move into it. And that's kind of where the story goes with that one. The second book
3 days,
follows
right?
up.
And that was it. I'm sorry. You stood
Pardon
like
me?
3 days. You and the kids.
I slept 2 nights in it. We weren't
nights.
fully moved in. When I bought it, I had intended to move into it I bought it in March, and I'm not going to go hog up the whole show here.
But just over.
I bought it in March, and I decided to wait until the kids got out of school because there was only 8 weeks left, and that we would move into it in the summer, and I would do renovations and get it all ready, so my kids could start in their new school at the beginning of the school year. And during that process, we slept in the house twice and never moved in. That's how
This is
bad
one
it
of the
was.
scariest stories I've ever heard.
Your story is
Yeah.
very compelling, truly
And you-
scary, and we've
Mhm.
read it. And since that time, obviously you're not living in that house, so you moved out.
No.
Story
And
on
your,
that, yeah.
your latest book is more a
The-
little bit lighter.
Yeah, the second book takes up, it's called, the very first chapter is called The Last Chapter First, and it kind of takes up where the other story ended, because a lot of people wanted to know what happened, what happened to me, what happened to the house, all of that sort of
my
thing.
mom had asked. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm going to have to send her the second book, but the second book then talks about what happened and the fact that the people ended up selling the house 6 months later. And also then the second chapter goes into where I actually got a hold of the people that sold me the house. And that was a whole another story in itself, that they were aware of the issues in the house. Their children were turning up with bite marks and bruises. And they were actually even drawing pictures at school. One of them was like in first grade. The other one was like in K4. And you know how they would tell the children to draw a picture of their home and family. And then they'd have these creatures off to the side. And when the teacher would ask and the mom would ask when they came home with it, what are these? Oh, those are the monsters that live downstairs in our house.
Oh
So
my God.
yeah, so and then it goes into some other things talking about addiction and mental illness and demonic, attachments, and how all of all of that works, and how lost souls that don't cross over, they still have their addictions, their senses are still there. You have your senses anyway when you cross over, but in that case, you just never know in a bar or if you're on your cigarette break, how many deceased souls are standing around you just trying to get a whiff of the fumes because they still have that addiction. So, and it goes into that, and it explains some things. And again, with all of my books, I always have that self-help section in the back to kind of walk you through how to determine whether you have an issue in your house and what it is. And the second book kind of gives you some things that you can do if it's not demonic, but like a lost soul in the house, they're easier to remove. And then I have then another book coming out, Colors of Heaven, which is about the act of dying, death, and afterlife itself. And then I'm doing a third book in the Omnipresent series called 111 Becky Dawn Drive, which is a story about a ghost that was going from townhouse to townhouse, pulling down women's underwear in the middle of the night. I have a picture of this ghost.
You've told us a little of that story before, and the naughty ghost. So is the sex kind of part of the addiction? Do you think, like anything else?
Probably. I mean, he's the only naked ghost I've ever seen. Most of the time, ghosts present in clothes, and even our loved ones, when we cross, when they present at their time of, transitioning, they show up in clothes. I mean, nobody wants to see their mother naked. Okay, so they're aware of that, and they show up in clothes. But he is the first ghost I have ever seen that presents naked. And like I said, I got a picture of him.
So you have, inherent psychic abilities to actually see these things. Yes. I know we talked about icons and different things as well.
I see dead people.
Dead people. Right?
Yes, I do.
A lot of us, rarely see them. We get feelings or other things, or maybe a mental flash, that sort of thing. But to physically see them is kind of rare. Greg, have you ever seen a ghost?
Apparition.
I've seen 3 now. I've never seen one naked. It was explained to me way back in the very beginning, before I really understood, that usually when you saw them, you usually saw them in the outfit they died in.
That is true.
And so this guy, whoever he happens to be, must be pretty good at this, if he's able to go ahead, and unless he died that way.
Maybe he did.
Maybe he did. Maybe he got caught in the act and was taken out.
Maybe he was.
You flashed.
He could have been a nudist.
You never know.
You don't
Basically, mine were always shadow figures.
Oh Lord. Sorry, I have a thing with that, as you know.
Yeah, shadow figures are the thing that, we were at a cemetery, and one night I saw a dozen easy.
Wow, that is a lot.
They seemed to, we were doing a film there in a cemetery out west of here, and we were actually doing it for the people, the town that owned the cemetery. And as we were filming it, one of the guys that has done a lot of work there as far as tours and things like that said, look at those pine trees down at the end. And they weren't really pines. They were like big arborvitaes, but they were in a row, and there were like 6 of them. And he said, count, if you stand on an angle, you can count the arborvitaes. And we counted the arborvitaes, and then he says, okay, look at them again and count them again. Because what the spirits were doing is they were sort of going behind the arborvitaes, and then they would go across the road, and that's where they thought they were safe from being in the cemetery with us in there. And sure as heck, the next time we all counted them, I had 11.
Wow.
And then across the road, you could see them, and they started to move.
Wow. That's pretty impressive. I've never seen that many at once, certainly.
That was the first time for me, too.
That's wow.
But it was a night like that where before we even got into the cemetery, we're in the car waiting for people to come. And it was me and a close friend of mine, and we were just talking. Didn't have the radio on or anything. It was a little chilly out, and we were sitting there, and all of a sudden we heard somebody talking to us like from outside the car.
Oh.
And Chuck looked at me, and I looked back at him, and I says, was that you? He says, no, I was going to ask you if that was you. And then all of a sudden it was like, we heard one more word. I don't know what it was, but that's when whoever it was went back.
Wow.
And we weren't even in there yet. So it's another one of those things where, when things start to happen, it's in succession, and they get on a roll, and they're very active.
Do you find this to be true? This is to all of you, that when the paranormal events occur, if you're in that sort of situation, they do seem to happen in succession. Like there's like a few minutes where everything just goes really paranormal, and then it's like nothing. It's like it appears.
It happens all. Did you freeze? I think Chris just froze, didn't he? Lynn's not frozen.
He did freeze. Hey, can you hear us? Kristen and Chris, you're frozen. They might be able to hear us.
Yeah, he's froze. It's kind of funny. He said, paranormal will happen and then it'll just stop, and then bam, he freezes.
Yeah.
He freezes, and then we just heard the strike.
That's right.
I don't know how much longer. We'll just keep on saying things.
Yeah, well, go ahead and finish your story. I was intrigued.
What I was going to get into were the ones that I had seen at Gettysburg.
Oh, wow.
And to me, that's the most memorable, because it really affected me spiritually.
Oh, wow. They just texted me and said that their power went out.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, they're trying to come back here in just a second, but their power went out. So,
Okay.
Yeah, we'll just keep going until they come back.
Okay, and a lot of people that are in the room right now know the story, but I was on a spot called the Triangular Field, and I was halfway down this huge field that the Confederate troops came out of the trees and charged up the hill. And they just simply annihilated all of them. And when I went there and announced that I was a veteran and that I was a brother. And there's no need for them to be afraid. And she said for a second, so the power's coming back on. And it was, I could feel them around me. Without a doubt. My levels of electricity and energy were just, like I could almost felt like I was coming off the ground. Mm-hmm. And they were all there. And, like Reggie said earlier about, emotionally, coming to some sort of conclusion. That's the first time in a long, long time I came close. And it was amazing. So
there they are.
Now we can't hear you. Oh, you're going to be coming back on.
Sorry, Bill. Yeah, that was weird. I didn't hit it, but our power went out. Just flashed out and turned the computer off. I am so glad the stream stayed going. We were trying to message you guys like, we're here. I thought it would take the whole stream out. So we're back and powered up.
And you were just saying something about how paranormal isn't there, and then out of nowhere, boom, it is.
Well,
yeah, if I hit the cord with like my foot or something, which I would say but I didn't.
He didn't, and neither.
Or somebody pulled it.
No, but
it's down here.
It's way over there, and no lights flashed. The computer just went.
It was the power to the powers. All the stuff on the table went out.
The boards and stuff. It was the weirdest thing.
Anyway,
well, they can do that.
Talking about this subject probably brings about some things. I don't know. We should put the cap balls on.
Yeah, definitely put the cap ball on.
Oh my God, I can't believe that just happened.
I love those.
I
don't know where we are. Please continue with you guys talking. I got up everything.
Greg was telling us about a story.
Cool.
And we were talking again about the ones out in Gettysburg.
Oh yes.
Oh yeah.
And that is one of my, how could you say, crowning achievements to have made contact like that to me, because they were like my brothers. So that's how close it was to me. And I've been trying to go ahead and come to some conclusion with like the Navy ships. When we go out to Seattle and we go on a ship or something like that, I would love to go ahead and have the opportunity. I tried briefly, but I really had no gear with me to even go ahead and, you can do EVPs with your phone, but, the thought never crossed my mind at the time because I was more interested in what was going on in the ship than trying to record it.
What's going on?
Yeah, stuff going on. Keep talking. We'll keep
It's all
going.
right. Yeah.
But they're coming to see everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Reggie, you're drawing them in too.
I must be. I'm going to tell you right now, from the moment that Chris put that ball down, it's been going on.
Oh, okay. It might have a
Yeah.
dying battery. Honestly, I don't think cat balls are the best data in the world. The batteries, they get a little funky sometimes, but we do. It's only until they start answering questions, then we start to take it a little bit more seriously.
Yeah, I'm with a REM pod the way you guys are with cat balls. I always have like a REM pod on across the room or in the middle of the room, just
them
to
all
have
on?
it on.
Well,
All right. Well,
2 of them have gone off.
here we go.
Yeah, REM pods are cool. I like the REM pod myself because I think it's good. It measures the static electricity in the air, if I'm not mistaken.
And yeah, I'm very.
And they can be
with that.
sensitive, like walkie-talkies set them off. Anybody with a walkie-talkie, if you're doing the Teams thing and everybody's got walkie-talkies, forget about the REM pod because it'll drive it bananas. But we've had pretty cool experiences. We had a good experience at the Conjuring House
Yes.
in Harrisville with a.
That's
a
got
REM
to
pod.
be crazy. That's got to be nuts.
Yeah, we weren't getting any action. We were in what was Andrea Perron's bedroom back in the day, right? And there's like a flight of stairs, like old type stairs that go down from her bedroom to the first floors. We're up on the second floor, and we put a REM pod like right at the top of the stairway because we had an idea there was something going on with the stairway in that room, and nothing was working. And we broke out Clowny.
Oh,
do you guys
yes,
know Clowny?
Clowny. Clowny goes everywhere with us.
We dragged this trigger
Yay.
object, our friend Clowny, to a lot of things. And this was the second time in the night that I had taken Clowny out of the bag. And our guests, our people that invited us, really, we're the guests, said, is MJ, our friend MJ. So what's up with the clowns, man? What are you doing with the clowns? Like, it was crazy with this clown, right? Because I had a clown thing when I was a kid. And you guys have probably heard me talk about it before. So I bring Clowny out. But I don't know. I get the idea to play Send in the Clowns. Remember that song? Send in the Clowns. And I bring it up on my phone and I start playing it. Well, the REM pod went crazy. And then it seemed like it was trying to sing the song.
Yeah,
going,
it was like it was touching it.
It's only got, a couple different tones in it, but it was going along with the song for the longest time. And MJ's got video of this. It was really crazy. And,
Wow.
pretty cool.
Yeah,
it seemed to like the music.
A really
age
heartfelt moment, basically.
And that is definitely a haunted location.
That's beautiful.
Where the locations go. That place is a little nuts. There's something about it.
So,
Reggie, you've had
yes.
been posting a lot of videos of different things. Like since you installed a home camera system with night vision, you seem to be capturing more than dust. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Well, first off, I want to apologize to the audience or anybody. If I end up having to jump and go, you guys are going to hear it. I'm at work. This is my day off, but they called me in because they didn't have anybody here.
Mhm.
And I'm a mechanic at a bowling alley. And so, yeah.
That's fine.
That's all right.
That's
No worries.
fine. When you have to
Honestly,
go,
it
it's fine.
sounds a lot better than when you told me that. I was like, oh my God, we're going to hear crashing pins and stuff, but it's fine.
I concocted a little invention a while back, with several different inventions. And so now I got Bluetooth here, so I can hear you. I'm on lane 40. I can hear you all the way down to like lane 15. If I end up running, I can still hear the show. But
No worries.
yeah, these I got kind of compelled to watch Like I'm always watching true crime,
Me too.
trying to solve things and just learning things, and everything electronic that I touch, I get communication through, no matter what it is. And I
Are you
mean,
one of those people that breaks their phone a lot, or the phone freezes
no,
up? No,
actually,
okay.
it's a total opposite. Like,
Meaning
all in
from
all,
their
like
body, not
here
like
at the
making.
bowling alley, at Walmart, anywhere I go, a PA system, I can hear them talking through it to me.
Okay.
My batteries almost never go dead. I had
Wow.
one set in an SB7. I spent like an hour or 2, 3 hours with the SB7 at a cemetery, 3 hours straight from the moment I got out of the car to the moment I got back in the car. I came home. I ran it hooked to something to record while I was asleep. It ran for 6 hours while I was asleep. It had 2 bars left in the morning.
Cheaper.
And then I used the same battery when I went to go with Greg to a cemetery there in Illinois. And and yeah, I finally changed them because of the long time I'd used them, but not because they were drained.
Oh,
But,
that's
Wow,
really
it's
interesting.
really very
anyway,
interesting.
I got this got to thinking about it, watching like the camera shows and stuff, Murder Caught on Tape and all that, and
Mhm.
considering I get everything electronic, communication, I thought, well, it takes me so long to set up cameras, to take the stuff off the cameras, to go through all the videos. I decided to put in a surveillance system 24/7. All I got to do is click on a couple of things. I can watch it. I can, take little segments of the video. But so they're always whispering to me through it. And
You
when I
hear it.
that
Mm.
that video, that last one where it caught on 2 cameras,
I feel it.
Chris.
Mhm. Yeah,
Okay.
listen.
What happened, and I'll tell you what happened. I had camera 1 and camera 2. One was next to the TV, and the one was next to the double doors. And they're always talking to me through the one by the double doors, and like in EVP form when I wasn't home and stuff. And I unplugged it to use the power cord to set up the camera in the kitchen. So there wasn't any power to that camera. And the first time that I set that camera, turned it on, and got it recording, we left to go eat somewhere. And that spirit energy you see on camera from the kitchen, it's actually camera 1's hooked to the wall still, but it's not plugged in. And it comes out from right where the power cord is on that camera, just underneath it. And it's kind of like the spirit is like, man, this one's off. Let me go see if the other one's on. And they stop right in front of it and go down the wall and then come back out. I'm pretty sure they're checking out. Well, what gives,
Like,
man?
what are
This
you
camera's
doing?
not plugged in. And I happened to catch them from the kitchen. And when I
think
saw
it's
it in the kitchen,
Okay. I was going to say, I think it's interesting
almost
that you say the voice just keeps going, like you could hear it all the time. We've had that impression, like we've gotten some communication. We were working with the skull in the back has a giant magnet in it, and we took that to a haunted location right next to where the cat ball's going off, and it's loaded with crystals and has this magnet, kind of like trying some different things, right, with the paranormal. And we were getting EVPs in these kind of waves, and it was triggering our K2 meters, which were away from the skull, and it would come and it would just kind of go and it would withdraw. But every time that it came and the recorder would sound a little bit messed up, you'd hear this whispering voice, and it just like goes on like the whole time until it withdraws, which is like a minute. But it's like it was as if it never really stopped talking, like if we could have been tuned into it better or the whole time, I don't think it would have ever stopped.
Wow.
So I wonder if like they're just trying to get your attention and they're trying so hard they just keep talking and talking and talking and talking.
Yes,
Which it sounds like what you're hearing.
exactly.
Oh yeah. Well, the first time that camera one was hooked up, and I remember you saw the video, made a comment on it where she said, "I'm a ghost." Remember that one,
Mhm.
Chris?
Yes.
That was like within the first day of me hooking that camera up. And then that's the one I unplugged. And the one next to the TV that they flew up to in that video, there was an EVP on another video where they were saying hello to my cat. I know they were, and that's why he was like the center of the attention, because as soon as they whispered hello, the cat goes, and it
No,
looks right at the camera.
Right. The cat didn't say anything back.
But yeah, man, yeah. About fell out of my chair.
Well, we started this conversation talking about gourds and certain hallucinogens that could be found in the jungle. So I just want to make sure we're on the same page.
We're on the same page.
Oh, okay. All right. Good.
I damn near fell out of my chair when I saw that off the kitchen camera, and I kept critiquing the whole room. There wasn't any headlights in the windows or nothing, and so that's when I went back to the other camera and saw it was looking right into the lens of it, But
so in this kind of situation, I want to put this out here for everybody to comment on. You've had quite a bit of data caught on those cameras. Do you think that you live in a haunted location, or do you think possibly you yourself are a little bit haunted? Or is everything just like this and you just happen to be a magnet for the activity? Lynn, do you find that locations are typically haunted, or do you feel like people can be haunted? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm jumping ahead of myself.
I tell my guides, bring on the storm. I want everybody that wants to talk to me at all times. So I mean, I invite it completely, and I'm surrounded at all times. From my perspective,
I have no doubt. Lynn?
I agree with him. In addition to that, what I've learned is, like in the case of haunted houses, it does, even a brand new house can be haunted, because it's not so much about the house, it's about the ground that it's built on, and you don't know what was there before. And when a light worker, which is basically what all of us are, we have, learning about this, we become enlightened, and because of that, our fields become brighter. And they've asked people who have had near-death experiences, and they've asked people who, like Reginald, who can communicate with them, how we appear to them from the other side. And we appear to them, it's been said, as lights. So a lot of times, because our lights are very, very bright, because we've worked on them and we're, headed in a different direction than most people. Most people are kind of, our lights are brighter, so the spirits are then attracted to us. And a lot of those are some of the lost souls that are wandering on this planet, that have chosen not to cross over, which is a whole nother story. Our loved ones come and go as they please, whenever they want to. But some of the ones that are the souls that have been chosen not to cross over for whatever reason. I've got an interesting story about that. But they're attracted to us for that reason. And if I could just share this one story, it's kind of cute. I was working as a nurse one night in front of a patient's room. The patient was actively passing. So a lot of times these beautiful beings and their loved ones start to come in as the person is transitioning to help them to cross over. And most of the time they start talking about seeing deceased people, which they are. And of course, the medical field wants to jack them up with drugs because they're hallucinating, and they're not. So anyway, I was standing in front of this woman's room, and there was this male ghost. I call them ghosts when they haven't crossed over, and spirits when they have. And he's kind of hiding behind this pillar looking at me. And I said, hello, and he's like looking over his shoulders to see who I'm talking to. And I said, no, you there, why haven't you crossed over? And he was a handsome man. He was dressed. You could tell that he had money. He was dressed well. Not a lot of money, but anyway, he had this heavy Irish brogue. And when he came over to near my cart, I could see him. And he said to me, I asked him, this lady here is getting ready to cross over. I can hook you up, not that you need to have that happen, but I was kind of trying to encourage him to cross over because he would have, angels and a group of people and other beings there too. And he told me, he said, "Milady," he said, "I can't cross over." And I'm like, "Well, of course you can. Why can't you cross over?" And he said, "My wife and my mistress are on the other side, and neither one knew about the other one." So he chose to remain earthbound because he didn't want to cross over to have to face the fact that he had been cheating. And there's a little bit more of a story to that, but that's the main point.
Yeah,
thing.
I love
funny. We love that story.
That's awesome. Yeah. What a thing. He kind of gives himself a life in hell because he was having fun while he was here. Greg, what do you think? Do you think people are haunted? Locations are haunted? Is it the ground? Is it the house? Is it the haunted object?
It's a combination to me, and mostly the energy, like what we do on the show on Wednesdays, where we have a group conscious, where we are actively trying to have them come with us, come on and talk to us.
Mm-hmm.
That is the same kind of an idea. I know that something like what Reggie does, which is totally different in the respect that Reggie's a one-man band. Reggie can go out into a cemetery basically all by himself, and he will draw all the spirits from one end to the other. And I've seen him work, and it's remarkable. And I really, I'm at the point where it's like, man, we just have to film Reggie. We have to do a Reggie show. Well, I don't mean Reggie's show. I mean
the Reggie show. I like that.
No, yeah, like a documentary type.
Yeah, that's
show
actually would be really well.
I find myself blushing now.
No, well, it's because there's a lot of people that don't believe.
Mm-hmm. Be agree.
And this may possibly help some of those people that are teetering on the edge start to understand a little more about what all those gravestones represent. Because there's too many people on the planet that don't. They could care less. They tip them over. They desecrate the whole entire area.
Awful. Yeah, the graffiti and terrible.
And you bring some valid points to the cemetery where it should be honored, and it is sacred ground. And you can't screw with it. You should either that, or you should have a lightning bolt come right down and just
go get Zeus.
Just incinerate you right on the spot. No way. But I believe that. I really do. And I know that, again, on the same wavelength, I have been doing a little bit of communication by myself talking here. Mm-hmm. And in the beginning, what my point of view was. It was I would never do it in my own house.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Yes, that's why I was like, mm-hmm.
But here we are in the middle of the show, and we do it every Wednesday night, and we ding 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 ding. Oh, come on, let's go. Come on, everybody, get in the room. And it's like, am I really a hypocrite about this or not? And I don't think I am, because I believe in what I believe.
I think it's the obsession factor. That's been what our experience is, and I know we've talked about this before. There was a time where we were doing sessions in our house all the time, and we would raise hell. It was like our Friday night out was in, and we were getting responses and all that, and then we became very kind of obsessed with some of that data, and thinking about it like way too much, and bad things started to happen because what we were connecting to was negative, and all we were doing is like creating an attachment to it by thinking about it and obsessing on it, wondering, like, you would get these kind of cryptic messages, and we wanted to know what was the answer and who is this person.
It was a rabbit hole.
It was a crazy rabbit hole.
And on top of it, I've never encountered, I'm gonna say this, I'm sorry, a demon, like demonic presence, we'll just say, in life. But that was definitely some kind of unearthly, we fed it.
Yeah, we fed it. We made it worse.
And we made it worse. But we weren't the only ones. It's a big strike.
At that point, we hit a point where we had to stop. Like I had actually felt it like temporarily possessed by the thing, and she was seeing things. It was really, really weird. Things. And we stopped for months and months and months, and we would not. I was like adamant, like we're not doing any sessions at home, no more. It took a long time to get over that. Now we do the sessions with you, Greg, and we do things occasionally. But
we've learned from
we're consciously aware of like we cannot. This is a rabbit hole. Let it go. Just let it go. End the session. Everybody talks about that, ending the session, right? And that's, I think, an important thing to do with maybe any investigation. Maybe you got to walk.
If we forget it on our end, we also have to make sure that on your group consciousness, that you understand that that's the way you want to end it, and you want them to stay there. You don't want them to come in with you. They're not allowed in with you.
No.
Period.
We've learned from that. So basically we've grown, we've grown like every day. Like I was saying last night on your show, every day we learn and we grow.
Yeah. You get to grow, but sometimes you can't walk away from it, and it won't let you walk away. I think, Lynn, like in your situation, you had to leave. Like that.
I had to leave. Yes.
Could not go.
Yes, I had to leave.
What were they doing to you?
Well, they were clawing people to the point of bleeding. They were leaving bite marks on my son's legs. They were pulling hair. They were manipulating the doorknob and the locks so that they couldn't be opened. They were sliding the keys out when nobody was looking and dropping them to the ground. They were running the stairwell in the hallway of the house. There were two demons. One was a hell dog. One was what I've learned is that as there's a hierarchy of angels, starting with like the cherubim going up, there's also a sub hierarchy of demons, and as it goes lower, the more physical acts they can do. So I had what was called a hellhound or a hell dog in the house. I mean, I couldn't keep workers in there. I had men that were coming in, to do the renovations, and they would leave. They wouldn't even stay there a whole day to work after they were gone by 2:00. I finally found out with the third person what was happening with that. And apparently his tools were moving and the lights were turning on and off by themselves. And his radio was turning itself on and off. And, water was turning itself on and doors were slamming. I mean, all kinds of things were happening in the house that time. I had 13 different denominations of religion in there to try to get them out. I had Andrew Calder, who was from the Georgia Paranormal group, to come to my house. A lot of people know him. He has since passed away, but he came to my house while he was working with a Presbyterian minister to remove the things. And I mean, the blessing went on all day long. And there was also a young man's spirit in the house that had hung himself in the house. The house was not an old house. It was built like in the 1970s. And the next door neighbor verified the fact that it was the first family that had built the house and moved in there, that the son did in fact hang himself in the stairwell. He was still there, I believe, being controlled by the demons that lived there. But the thing is after I sold the house, I was able to get in touch with the people that sold the house to me, and their story with their little children, because I was a single mother with 2 children. My son was 7, my daughter was 13, and they also had issues with the house that they finally came forward and we were able to discuss the same thing, bite marks on their kids' legs, weird bruises. And I learned from Andrew Calder that they can rape women, they can pull hair, they can leave bruises, bite marks, and claw marks. And my friend was clawed to the point of bleeding as I stood next to her in the kitchen of that house, on her back in an area where her shoulder blades, it was catty corner, even partially underneath her bra. And this woman was a big woman. I mean, she had to have her boyfriend help her fasten her bra. And I'm only mentioning that because there's no way that she could have touched that area. And while I was looking at that area, there was this misting portal that kind of entered into the room, and it had the sound of like a didgeridoo. It was this wah wah kind of sound. And I immediately, started commanding it to leave and calling on God, Jehovah, Mother Mary, Jesus, everybody to make the thing move. And the wall kind of moved back. But in the meantime, she had been clawed on her back. And while I was looking at her back, she was then clawed on her stomach while I was looking at her back. So that kind of thing is what happened in there.
That's crazy.
That's horrible.
That was
And I have witnesses. I mean, I have many witnesses that came into the house that had things happen to them in the house. One of my son's friends came. They were playing video games downstairs. We hadn't moved in. All I had was blow up mattresses, but I was like mowing the grass and doing things. And my son had left the room to go upstairs, and he said that this ball of light came and hit him in the chest and laid him flat back. He was sitting on the stoop, for lack of a better word, in front of a fireplace, and it laid him back, and almost with his head inside of the fireplace, and he could see this illuminating triangle up a distance up the chimney of the fireplace, and he was not able to move anything but his eyeballs. And then he hears my son coming back down the stairs, and as soon as he starts into the room, whatever it was released him, and he sat up and he said to my son, he said, did you see that, or did you hear that? And my son's like, no, hear what? The actual cover of my first book is this. It is an actual event that happened in the house when my son was sitting on the master bathroom toilet. Thank goodness he was there, because I'm sure he would have done something in his pants otherwise. He was 7. Yeah, he was 7 years old, and that's what he saw.
Place, right?
Yeah, that's what he saw coming in at him. And to this day, he has such post-traumatic stress from it that he is 24 years old and he still will not sleep with the light off.
No, I believe it.
Yeah, it scared him so bad.
Totally. I think it's really interesting. You mentioned that he couldn't move. He could only see. And it reminds
his eyeballs.
Me his sleep paralysis almost. Or there's the hypnagogic states that we talk about a lot, hypnopompic states on the show, because those are parallels to things like alien abduction, right? And our good friend who's on last week, Nathaniel Gillis, talks a lot about the incubi, succubi phenomena, and it's totally a real thing. And it does parallel abduction phenomena. And you hear the same kind of stories. People frozen, they can't move. They're just stuck. It's like they could almost put that upon you to be in that state. And then it's a party for them. They can do whatever they want.
Right.
You're stuck. You're frozen. You can't really do anything.
Ha ha ha.
Yeah.
And then you'll have this experience. And
that's
like
true. And the thing is he was awake. So it happened while he was wide awake. It wasn't, sometimes the sleep paralysis, they try to say, oh, well, that happens. People that don't understand, they try to say, oh, well, that just happens. You're coming out of a waking state. No, this young man was wide awake. He was sitting there waiting for my son to come back, and it happened to him. So
we totally believe you, and that he wasn't sleeping. It's like they can almost make it happen or pull it out, because we have that ability to be in those kind of in-between states naturally, going to sleep and waking up. And those are times and almost like a prime time for some of this phenomena. But I think they can totally do it to you. Like we talked to Terry Lovelace, and he talked about riding a bike down the road. He's a alien abductee survivor, and just going blank, and like it was in that state, and they woke up in a ditch. And it was hours later or something.
It was like 3 hours later or something.
Crazy time loss. I think the stuff really happens. And, you mentioned that, about being raped, and the sexual side of it is definitely a real thing too. It's not just in people's heads, but it's hard for people to understand these things. They hear it and they say, oh, that's crazy. There's something wrong with
right.
It. Until you have that kind of experience where you go, oh my God, you cannot explain. It opens up the door to so many other things. Like, well, if this can happen, then you know what? Maybe that can happen. Not that I've been raped by ghosts, but I'm just saying.
Or neither.
I haven't either.
Yes, I think it is
We've heard
possible.
so many stories about this.
Yeah.
Well, that's why Lynn's books mean so much. Just like when you would go out and film like Reggie in the cemetery, because it's all on the same level, where there's some people that don't want to really experience it, but they want to have knowledge of it, because knowledge is the best tool they could possibly have for protection.
We agree.
Yeah.
That's very true. That's very, very true in so many ways. And if I may just add, in the last part of my book, I talk about parents and their children, and children up until a certain age, they don't have the filters that we have. People getting ready to cross over, those filters also we face. So they have the ability to see spirits, and you'll hear the little kids talking about their invisible friend. And so many times, you'll hear a parent say to a child, "Oh, there's nothing there. Oh, it's your Aunt Lulu, your guardian angel. She's just coming to check on you. You've got a kid coming in your room in the middle of the night because there's something standing at the foot of their bed." I try to teach them in the book, or I suggest that, if you have a child that comes to you more than once stating that they're seeing something in their room, don't tell them that it's not there, because it might be there and you just can't see it. Ask them, number one, is it something that is telling them to do something that they know they're not supposed to? Because sometimes demons can pose as children or other things. And ask them if it's making them feel uncomfortable. If it was their Aunt Lulu coming in, they wouldn't be feeling uncomfortable, and Aunt Lulu wouldn't be shaking their bed and pulling their covers off in the middle of the night. So try to give them some other tools to work with, like a prayer to say out loud, or a song to distance whatever it is, to make them feel, safe, or just flat out to tell them, no, leave, get out of my room, and to empower the children, because there's children, everybody has gifts. We all are born with the same gifts. It's just whether they've been nurtured or not. And a lot of people with traditional religion and things like that have been taught to be afraid of their gifts, that there's something wrong with them. And of course, the medical field, oh, you've got schizophrenia if you hear voices in your head.
Exactly.
Yeah, and they do that.
Start to question yourself, right? And poor kid is going to start to think, hey, maybe there is something wrong with me. And
there really isn't.
Yeah.
No, and
to addiction and things like that. So, yeah.
Right. Which you talk about in your second book.
Right.
Yes. And I've actually seen, I did a rotation I was my psychiatric rotation in a nursing class, and I had to do rounds in psychiatric wards. And, in my book, there's one other person in particular that came and approached me, and she actually had attachments on her back. So this woman that was hearing 25 voices, you could see they were over each of her shoulder, almost like a Santa Claus bag, the size of a pillowcase, and they looked like clustered grapes. So most of them were inverted, which a lot of times they do show up that way. They show up with the mouth on top, and they looked kind of like misshapen potatoes. But when she got up to walk away from me after she was telling me her story about the voices that she was hearing, I'm like, no shit. Oh, sorry.
No,
this woman's actually is
We're
really
French.
hearing these voices. Oh, good. Okay. Yeah, you don't have pants on, I remember. That's what he said.
That's what all the ladies say.
I don't think Greg does either.
Oh, sorry. But
Greg never has pants on.
How do you know I have them on?
It's a show business secret.
We can't.
oh, that's true. Oh, okay. Well,
Sorry.
anyway, but
Right.
but she literally did have attachments on her that she was hearing legitimately the voices, and I was able to help her with that. Fortunately, down the road we met up again, and she had done what I told her to do, and she was much, much better. But I started walking around the facility looking at people, and I could pick out the ones that had schizophrenia, because most of them, they weren't talking about pink elephants. They were talking about hearing voices. Granted, the people talking about pink elephants probably need meds, but some of these other people, they were psychic and they were sensitives. And again, their light was bright, but some of these things, because they didn't know how to protect themselves, were attaching themselves to them. And so I could pick them out. I'm like, oh, I bet that one's diagnosed as schizophrenia. And sure enough, I'd go ask, one of my friends who might have been responsible for that room that day as a student nurse. And they would say, yeah, as a matter of fact, it is. How'd you know? And you can also pick out the people with addictions, because a lot of those carry these, I call them archons. They look like crabs, they look like spiders, and they can be lizard looking. They kind of fit like backpacks on people's backs. They hook in at the shoulders with this horn looking thing underneath the armpit and on top of the shoulders and connect in. And they're attached because of the addiction that the person has. So, and these people are in these facilities because their addictions are extreme. So, they come in with those, and I'm like, oh, I bet that person has a alcohol problem, and I bet, type things. So I can see those things. And if they had a spiritualist when they are admitting some of these people that they're diagnosing with schizophrenia and things like that, the outcome would be a lot different.
I think it's interesting the way you describe them, the archons, and
Yes.
and some of the other things, because I wonder if that's how they present to you, and the way your brain functions and can perceive them. It's like people they'll have a holy experience, maybe see Jesus on the toast or something like that, but it's not fake or whatever. It's like they see angels with wings and these kind of things, because that's how they're being presented to that person.
Mm-hmm.
So
everybody's different.
What they actually look like. Maybe we're just a bunch of lights in a dark room just bumping into each other or something.
Yeah, I like that
kind of thing. I don't know. What do you think, Reggie? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, first off, I want to say I was told I can leave work now, but I'm so indulged with what's going on here.
How far away are you from your house?
Run home and hook everything up and get back into the meeting here in about 20 minutes. But
we're going to be on like 11.
Well,
yeah.
It's man, between just now and the things that Michael was saying last week,
Dr. Michael.
Yeah, I don't ever know how to properly word this stuff, because I see eye to eye on so much, and I always get flustered in my words, and I don't know how to explain it. But Michael Lynn last week, Lynn, I've been talking about schizophrenia for the last 6 months and whatnot. I've always I started talking about wanting to, like, if I see somebody out in public maybe yelling at somebody that's not there, I've always wanted to go nearby them a little bit and kind of turn on an EVP recorder,
Oh, dear. You'd really freak them out if you did that, but yeah.
Well, no, they wouldn't hear it. They wouldn't know I was doing it. But when I got home, I could see who they're yelling at. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But the universe, extraterrestrials, aliens, spiritual world, it's all intertwined. Like in a really profound way. You were talking about winged beings just now, Chris.
Yes.
One of my abilities, and man, there's no way I can catch it on camera. I mean, I couldn't tell you how many times I've tried. But if I go outside, I can see a little sparkle. Sometimes it's red, sometimes it's blue, sometimes it's green. But most of the time it's green or blue. And I'll look up, and out of nowhere, during the daytime, it becomes a clear energy form with wings. And I'll start seeing it circle around above me. And I know I've caught people looking at me because I'm looking at the sky doing this. Like I'm following this energy until it comes down, and sometimes they land right in front of me. And as soon as they do, my whole body energizes. At nighttime, I can actually see like the wing part of them and the whole nine. And all it takes is for me to look up at the sky. I'll look for, like, UFOs, star family. And then I'll see a spark, and I'll look over at the spark, and it'll form, and it'll just start coming around, and
I love it. Yeah.
whenever there's like a bad energy that comes into my apartment, when I say fluent talking on white noise, that's exactly what it is. I can leave and they'll talk for hours while I'm not even there. And I actually can hear them ask spirit or maybe negative energies to go outside. I can hear in the white noise. I've got recordings at home where I can hear them chasing somebody, and they'd be like, "Where is he?" And then another voice would say, "In the chimney." And then I would hear like this, you'll never catch me. I'll hear this scream almost like you'll never catch me. And they get them, I'm pretty well protected by my star family,
I
and
love
Awesome.
the idea of the lights.
Yeah,
and stuff,
we
because
see them, but we don't see what you see.
we've heard like this before too, right? In UFO phenomena, you again, not necessarily abduction, but there are people that have come on the show and have talked about this, about seeing orbs, right? Which is a 4-letter word instead of a 3-letter word in the paranormal, because everything was a dust orb, right? But in ufology, orbs are more accepted and they are colored and people see them a lot. It was the gentleman from Australia. I can't think of his name.
Damien Knott.
Damien Knott. Yes. Damien Knott, very interesting guy in an archive somewhere that we have an interview with him. And he talks about those things. Like he's seeing the colored lights all the time. And I've heard other UFO type people talk about this. And it's the crossover with the paranormal is just, it's right there. It's just really, they're kind of gifted in a way. They have the ability to see these things. They're probably all around us, but most of us, have our blinders on and we can't really see them. Linda Judd says there are at least 20 studies that prove that people who are psychic, hear voices, see people, are happy with their lives and are high functioning. If they are unhappy and low functioning, then they'd be candidates for meds. That makes a lot of sense. Anne-Marie Young says, every time I watch this show, I connect with the guests on the show.
Right.
It's full of yes and me too, star family. Right on.
If I may add to the previous comment, when they are, the last sentence that you had said about if they're, I'm having a brain moment. Those that are of the light, and then some of them that are a little bit lower, those are more open for possession sometimes, or attachments, because they've got cracks in their windshield, so to speak. And sometimes when people are not protected and they have the cracks in their windshields, that allows certain things to come into their field that should not be there. So I just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, that is a good way to put it. I like the analogy, cracks in the windshield. Linda also goes on to say, Reggie, please do a remote reading for me right now. Am I surrounded by earthly ghosts or unearthly spirits? Thoughts on that?
Well, to be perfectly honest, I've never done that type of reading.
It is putting you on the spot a little bit.
I was just going to say that.
Have they had this conversation before?
Yeah, I know that if she wants them, I can send spirits, angels to her, to help protect her if she needs it. But man,
that's okay. No worries.
That's
no
fine,
worries.
Reggie.
I didn't mean to put you in the psychic hot seat.
Right now, there isn't a single spirit on this planet that is earthly. We are all, and most people don't recognize this, but we are all starseeds. All of us. 100%. It's just 99.9% of the population became humanized. Their souls have become humanized. One way of looking at this would be as simple as I can put it. When the earth began, the very first life form here, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's a bug. I don't know what was the very first life form with a heartbeat and a soul. But where did the soul come from? It wasn't earth. We stemmed out, we're all extraterrestrial. We're all starseeds. And I know I kind of drifted off a little bit on when she said unearthly. I just instantly sparked that thought in my head, and I apologize, if I went off on a.
Oh, no worries.
Oh my goodness, don't
It's cool.
apologize.
I like
It's fine.
your explanation.
Yes.
Michael Leach says it's the same orb is conscious whether they're a human or alien. So that just circling back on the orb thing and seeing them, he's saying that they are conscious. So it's a consciousness. I just think some people, like yourselves in this group, are more attuned to seeing them than we are. And then he says the afterlife. Linda says we are from the universe. Anytime you want to try, Reggie, okay with me. So we get to have a take two at that one. No worries. Greg, what do you want on it?
A quick comment that Michael, right here. Everything you talk about, Michael, man. Woo, you're so inspiring, and the knowledge you possess is just absolutely amazing. I just wanted to say my piece where I knew Michael would actually be hearing me say it. That's all.
Greg feels the same way. We feel the same way. Yes.
And so does the capital.
Awesome.
Oh my God,
man.
yeah.
I just heard a sound about a minute ago. That's why I want to say something, because it sounded like one of those cat balls had fallen off a shelf and hit the floor.
Actually, that was me. And I never get up to do any,
What'd you do to the
podcast.
cat?
That was me.
So you dropped something.
I have shoes on. I never wear shoes. I love cute shoes and boots, but I don't wear shoes. And that was me. Yep. I was about to get up.
I just heard that and was like, holy crap, here we go.
The good doctor says he is humble.
Yeah. I'll be right back, everybody. I'm sorry.
Okay.
And then it goes
Yeah, we've had
Dr. Mike.
a lot of energy drinks here today.
Oh my God.
Good old Dr. Mike. What a guy.
Do you guys have 20 minutes?
We do.
Okay. I'm gonna shut her down, and I'm gonna bolt home and get this open back up and fire it right back up.
Don't get a speeding ticket, Reggie.
All right. Don't rush. We'll be there all week.
Cast getting paid, so I got to go clock out.
Okay. No worries.
We'll be here.
You getting paid to be on our show?
Yeah.
Well, fantastic. That's how it's supposed to work.
All right.
I'll
be right.
No worries.
Be right
back.
back.
I'll see you when you get back. Cool.
We missed Jeff too. Jeff left. The goat.
The goat.
He was on.
Building. I did. I saw Jeff on there.
Yeah.
And
he left.
He's a character.
Kristen said goodnight to him.
Reggie is
That's really something. It's really lovely to have, people like Lynn on too, that, has such knowledge in everything that we're talking about. So she can fill in the blank. So you can fill in the blanks no matter what we talk about.
Well, you fill in the blanks for me too. I mean, all of this is coming from each of our, our perspective and the way that we, our not opinion wouldn't really be the appropriate word, but nobody's wrong here. We're all right. We're all pieces to the puzzle, and when we can come together and share and learn from one another, then the puzzle becomes a whole puzzle.
So I'm gonna end up going ahead and I'm gonna steal you from Chris and Kristen. I'm gonna send you an invite down the road here.
Okay, I would love that.
To come on my show. And I hope I'm not infringing on that. Chris.
Absolutely not. It's our hope that Lynn is on all the shows that she can be on or wants to be on, because that's fantastic.
No, I would love to.
I'm sorry. There were a few comments pertaining to my little thing here, but in answer to the people that asked that question, yeah, it was melanoma type stuff that I've had. This is the second skin cancer that I've had removed, and this is a little bigger this time, but I'm on the mend. It's the surgery's over. everything's fine. They found no more. So,
Good.
and I just keep on plugging along, just like everybody else. My guides were there. Boy, I had to talk to them quite a bit before.
I can imagine.
I imagine
it
it was
went down. But you know what? I used to get stitched up all the time when I used to play hockey. So, my bottom lip and that kind of thing. So my nose, my eyebrows.
You and I spoke about this. So
yeah,
personally. So, but that's scarier. So,
well, you know what? It's life. We have to rebound all the time. We have all our guides and our angels, and if Reggie was around, we have our star seeds around us. That's what makes him so cool, is that, like I said before, to see him operate in a cemetery. Wow.
It's really something to see.
Yes.
And that brings up a point that I wanted to get to, because we've mentioned cemeteries a few times. Thank you, Barbara.
Thank you, Barbara.
Thank you.
Love her.
Why cemeteries? Why, if you passed on, I would think like the rational reason would be like the last place you'd want to be is in the boneyard. Like you'd want to go see your family, or you'd want to go see, I don't know, the Alps, or travel. I always wanted to see Ireland, that kind of thing. Yeah. Why do you, just putting this out in the panel way, do you think there are so many spirits stuck in cemeteries?
I think they stop. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No.
My father had a near-death experience, and he explained, and a lot of other people that have had near-death experiences explain, that once they leave their body, they are able to be in 6 places simultaneously. So, like in the case of my father, he has 6 children, one of them deceased at that time. So he was with each one of us. He even described the shirt that I had on. I was in a different state. It was my favorite shirt. He described it to a T. So I believe that sometimes they are like guarding their space in the cemetery. Some of them are lost souls. Some of them have already crossed over and they come back and forth, and that they're not just anchored there. The lost souls are just anchored there. They don't have the option to be in the 6 places at one time. But if once you've crossed over, you can come back and forth, and your parent can be with all of their children at one time, or they can be doing something on the other side, or visiting their own, funeral or whatever, while they're also coming together with loved ones on the other side. I've seen some interesting things when people pass away, and a lot of the things have been consistent. It's not just angels that are present. I know that Reggie was talking about the star seeds. There are some other beings that are present when the person is transitioning that do come in as well, and they are magnificent. They are as magnificent as angels, but they do not have the wings that angels have. Oh, I just pulled that off. But they are very, very tall and very, very special beings as well. And I believe that they are some type of galactic beings that also come in to help people, cross over at that time.
So you think they're welcoming them?
I do, yes, because I've seen them. I'm sorry, I'm losing my thing here. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not as loud though.
Okay, can you still hear me?
Yeah, you're good now.
Okay, good. When my mother passed away, I was in the room with her, actively watching her pass. My mother was one that a lot of times people will leave their bodies at first, and usually they're standing next to the bed watching everybody grieve. But my mother chose to stay embodied until the very end. And she, even though she couldn't open her eyes anymore and she couldn't verbalize, she would move her eyebrows and her mouth in response appropriately. When people would come in the room and say, "Hi, Phyllis," she would start mouthing and moving. And the thing is when the spirits started coming into the room, the whole side of the room was misted. There was an area that he faced and opened that I first saw my grandmother, my mother's mother, come through. She walked over to my mother's bed and was stroking the inside of her arm and leaning forward and whispering something into her ear. And my mother would then do the mouthing thing and the eyebrow thing in response. And she did this like 3 times. And then I saw my deceased sister walk in. My sister, I had a younger sister that was murdered by a jealous boyfriend when she was 20. And she also walked in. I could smell her perfume. I could feel her come and embrace me from the crowd of people as the Wally faced. There were a lot of people there. Some of them I recognized from this lifetime. Some of them I didn't, but my mother knew. But as they came to greet her, the room kind of thinned out of all of these beautiful souls that came, and it went down to like maybe 5 beings. And one of the beings that walked with the angels and my mother and my sister that were helping her to cross over as they were walking past me, leaving the room, was this beautiful being that was not necessarily angelic, but they appeared human, very tall, like 7 and 8 feet tall. I mean, their head was like even halfway out of the room, and from a distance, I could see them, but they were magnificent as well. And what I have learned with being in communication with my mother on the other side is we do cross over, but once we cross over, we go through our life review. We sometimes have to stay and go through schooling. We do have homes on the other side, of which if anybody that's artsy fartsy, any paintings or sculptures that you've done, usually you also have, they're replicas of what you already have in your home there. That's why when artists, they think about a painting, they can envision it before they start it. That's the reason why. But once you go through some of the processing, what heaven or the other side becomes like an airport, and you're actually going off to other places, other galaxies, other places is what I've learned.
Wow.
That's deep.
It's very deep.
That's excellent. I like that thought. I was told like many years ago that people should travel in their lifetime. You're sometimes limited by what your experience is here, and that the afterlife is just what you see or saw or experienced here. And a person like to travel for that reason, but I don't know. I think there could be more. Michael Lynch mentioned the limited imagination, and maybe that's possible. You know, I don't know. It's the imagination like in the afterlife.
Well, a lot of people that have had near-death experiences talk about similar things. So even with, I mean, you can travel to see Ireland as a spirit. You can travel to see Australia, all of the places that you didn't get to see, but you can also go to other solar systems. I mean, for every star that is a sunshine, there are solar systems around it, and there are other human type beings in other solar systems. Some of them are more advanced than ours, and some of them are a little bit behind ours. But, I mean, you can go anywhere you want, and you can also be present. Like you could be standing right there next to your child if you've crossed over and they're still embodied and earthbound, but yet you can still be in another solar system because of the ability to be in 6 places simultaneously.
Wow, that is interesting. Barbara says a psychic recently told me that my husband is in classes in heaven learning lessons.
Yes, they do that. After they do their life review, they go into an area with the records, and I don't know if I say it right, Akashic or Akashic, they do exist. It's kind of like a hallway with some cubbies. So as you enter in, a lot of times you'll see that some of the cubbies are kind of covered. Those are opportunities that were missed, that you didn't take, that you could have. And you are able to peer into your life, past and present. You can look into that, and anything that you didn't meet in this lifetime. Like, for instance, if a person that has an alcohol problem passes away and they choose to cross over, because sometimes they choose not to cross over. They want to stay here and still stand around the drink and somebody else is drinking it. But if they choose to cross over, they are then placed in schooling to, a lot of times they're placed with another person who is an alcoholic to try to help guide them. They can't make choices for them, but they can encourage them spiritually to make better choices. Whether the person takes that takes that lesson or not, it's up to them because they can't force it on them. But even with that being said, the spirit that is being educated still understands it from a different viewpoint. So they are still getting that education that they need in order to be decided whether they need to return or to go off somewhere else type thing. And that's kind of it's much more detailed than that, but that's just kind of a quick little, story to kind of give you a taste of where, what happens.
I think that's great. And, a lot of people think their life doesn't have purpose, but, maybe the purpose is to learn lessons. Like, Greg, what are your thoughts on that?
Lynn sort of brought up something that, is close to my heart too, because I am an alcoholic and I've been an alcoholic since 1984. And at that point, everything was going to be gone. So, I found it profound that you would say that, in the respect that it sort of puts another piece of the puzzle together as far as my journey is concerned. And that's the part that means a lot to me. So now I have a piece of the puzzle from way back then, before I was even close to a spiritual awakening, even though I had no clue. And there were times that, you go through hell about it, but, I was put away. Like you were talking about the different floors, and, I was threatened with them beaming me up a few times up to the third floor. So, it's all part of it. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I became aware of some prayers out of the big book, and the 12 Steps is another book. It had a couple prayers on it that I used to say these two prayers every night for years. I don't say them anymore because I'm usually talking to my guides, but they know me.
Yeah. And the intent is kind of the same, right? So,
right.
Yeah.
They know where I've been.
So much is about our intents,
It's something that, I've never been a pat me on the back kind of guy. I've always been, sort of low down, sort of modest, in the respect that I don't even like to talk about a lot of this unless I'm talking with somebody that already mentioned something like that. And you could help somebody else in the room that maybe you don't know if there's somebody in here that does need something like that. And I would always open myself up in the same respect as I do with the paranormal or with my psychic mediumship, to the same extent with my alcoholism.
There may be people in the audience now that are listening to you, and they need this. They need this.
It might be just the right thing. You. Yeah, absolutely.
If you incorporate it all together, I've been very fortunate to have gotten this far down the road with all the holes I had in me, the amount of times that you get shot at in life and you keep on trucking, and then you end up in this particular location and you hear things like that mentioned, and it just clicks. So that makes this, to me, a magical moment. As far as what we're doing, this is what this show is about. I think
it is. It's a platform for people to hear whatever it is they need to hear,
or say whatever it is they need to say
of their life. Possibly, I think a lot of people experience phenomena. A lot of people certainly go through addiction issues. We can certainly speak to that and that sort of thing. And until you hear it or see it, somebody else saying it, like a mirror, a reflection, they can finally see themselves and go, hey, I'm okay. That maybe I'm not crazy, or
Right.
maybe I should do something about that. It gives me hope, that kind of stuff.
We have no judgment here. Whatever is
Right.
said, you
Yeah,
could say.
Judgment free zone, like
That
Planet
You know,
Fitness.
and
politics, please. Seriously.
and in response to another thing that Lynn said about when you were in that hospital and you were going through and you saw those people. I've been thinking about this for quite some time too, and it's like, why do we do the same basic thing in the year 2022 that we did in the 50s and 60s as far as the people that have mental issues?
Oh,
When you know they have these kinds of attachments to them.
that's a show in itself right there.
I understand that too, Kristen.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just bringing it up because I had a grandfather that was in Elgin out here in Illinois, and we used to go visit him. And I saw that as a 4 and a 5-year-old, 3, 4, and 5. And every year, every time we would go, my grandmother would bring him a whole big stack of new clothes. And before he got back into where his room was, those clothes were already gone. And we're not even talking about clothes here. We're talking about somebody's spirit and somebody's mental health.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And it's like, if you can't take care of the clothes, how the heck are you going to handle the person? And they are people just like you and me, except they have issues. And they still do the same damn thing with those people.
Right.
Yeah. Oh,
Right.
yeah.
That's true.
I looked up stuff earlier, and
That's absolutely true.
that is.
They're
starting to bring back like
Yes, they are.
You say
and
electroshock
I
therapy.
just think it's so sad and wrong, and they're so misunderstood. It bothers me.
This isn't experimentation here. These are human people, or human lives.
Exactly.
That's true. I do it during that nursing rotation also in the area. There was this one lady that would sit at a table, and she was talking to people that were sitting at the table with her, but there were no people. And they were medicating her because she was having these hallucinations that they were talking about, the same as they do when people are getting ready to cross over. And the thing is I could see the people that were sitting with her. There really were spirits there sitting with her, but I couldn't come out and say anything. Here I am in an environment they would ended up admitting me. So with that being said, and the thing is I couldn't bring myself. I was so glad that the patient wasn't mine, because I could not bring myself to medicate that person, because they were really seeing spirits that were sitting with her. And just no, but not, I could see them, but a lot of other people could not see them. So, or most anybody for that matter, or if they could see them, they weren't mentioning it because they didn't want to bring it up in a facility for that type of issue either. So,
No, they don't.
Right. Hey,
it is sad, Paula. It really is.
With the mental health stuff, and I know we've mentioned these names before. There's the Wicklins from the spiritualist movement. Kind of started a lot of that, where they would go into asylums. There were a couple. I think the gentleman's name was Carl, and I think we talked about it briefly last week. They would go into asylums. His wife was a psychic, and they would look at schizophrenic patients. And this is back in the late 1800s, I believe. They wrote a couple of books on this, and they thought, they weren't mentally ill, that they just simply had attachments. Another gentleman by the name of Dr. Terrence Palmer, who I think has passed away. He was somebody who was actually trying to get on our show at one time, and we started an email conversation. So rest in peace, Dr. Palmer. Really good guy. He wrote a book, and I'm just trying to find the name of it here real quick. Yeah, The Science of Spirit Possession, which is still out there on Amazon. And it talks about those kind of things where people can pick up these attachments, and they're going to appear mentally ill to people around them, but they aren't. They simply have these sort of negative spiritual attachments.
That is so true. And the thing is too is even people that are transitioning, getting ready to cross the other side, they'll start talking about seeing the presence of people in their rooms, and they're not talking about people that the embodied souls that are in the room with them don't know. Uncle Joe or Aunt Mary, who passed away 5 years ago. But I had a specific example of a woman who had been blind for 10 years. And I was at the station. Her son and daughter were there. She was actively transitioning. And they came to the nurse's station and they said to me, Mom's talking to people in the room that aren't there. And I said, okay. I said, let me walk down there with you and see if your mom needs anything to help her be more comfortable. So I'm walking down with them. And as I'm walking into the room, she's laying there reaching into the sky like delicately, like someone's handing her snowflakes, and she's smiling from ear to ear. And I call her Edna in my book. And I said to her, I said, Edna, who's here? And she immediately said, George. Well, her daughter almost passed out because her daughter said that, George is my dad. My dad's been, it has been gone, for X amount of years. And that's my father's name. And then Edna said, and he's happy that you're taking good care of Pixie. Well, Pixie was her poodle. And Pixie, the son now had Pixie, who was now like 14 or 15 years old, because when George passed away, because Edna was fully blind, she couldn't care for the dog. So the son then, pipes up and he says, well, I have the dog. He said that and told me the story. And he said, do you think my mom's hallucinating? And I'm like, well, you can't come out and say no. So you have to kind of hand it back. And I said, well, do you think she's hallucinating? And he's like, well, I don't know. And I said, well, let's just try something. So many people miss a window of time to communicate with the other side through people that are actively transitioning over. Mm-hmm. So I said, Edna, I said, can I ask George a question? She nodded yes. And I said, George, what color is your son's shirt? Keep in mind that this woman was totally blind, no shadows, nothing. She was totally blind, and she said yellow. Her son was wearing a pale pastel yellow Ralph Lauren polo shirt, and he immediately pops out and says, hi, Dad. He realized that he was there. His presence was there. And a lot of times people, because they're so into their grief, they get creeped out when Mom starts talking about uncle, whoever it is in the room. That there's a dead person in the room with them. They feel creeped out by it. So, but they're missing a very, very beautiful time where they can actually communicate with the other side themselves. I mean, how many times have you heard someone say, oh, if I could just tell so-and-so that I love them time, or if I could just say that I'm sorry, or ask Uncle Bob what he did with the clock. Well, this is your opportunity to do that. But you need to remain calm. And, ask if you are going to ask a question, because the person's transitioning, their filters are removed, starting to efface. They're able to hear through telepathy is the way that they communicate with us on the other side, but they're able, now their receptors are opening to hear that, as well as being able to hear the embodied souls in the room, and they can answer for you, if you want to ask a question of somebody on the other side.
I think that's great. And you mentioned something I know to be true, and that is that transition phase before and after it is a time where like the relatives do come in, and we kind of live that in real time on the show. Really, my father passed earlier in the year in February. There were spirits or psychics were coming on our show and saying, "Oh, your grandfather's behind you," and that sort of thing. It was actually happening. And no, I totally agree. What are your thoughts on that, Greg?
I agree with it 100%.
Yep.
There's not too much to add to it, really.
No, I would agree.
I mean, it's pretty much summed up 100%. I do think, though, that as far as them using that combination of medications to help him ease through the transition, I don't know if I agree with that, because I think it draws it out. And I had some words with the hospice nurse who was working on my father-in-law, because
I used to do that. Yes,
he was telling me 100%, yeah, let's go. I want to go. And it was like, I said, can't you just go ahead and just give it to him all at one time?
No, it's
well, you know where I'm going.
Yes,
you know, it's just that, you know, I'm not medically savvy in that respect. I'm just going for the what's best for my father-in-law.
You know,
when it comes to nursing, though, right, Lori, we are not allowed to do that. And
no,
wish we could. And morphine does, when at that stage, does deplete the respiratory system.
I was just going to say that.
Right.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. So it actually hastens it. You know, like Kristen was saying, it actually, the medication does suppress the respiratory system, which in some cases makes it easier for them to pass.
Okay.
However, when they're in that stage where they're talking to people, everybody wants to run and get the medicine because they're uncomfortable with the fact that their loved one's talking about a spirit in the room. So they medicate them to the point that either if they medicate them, they're still talking about the spirits being in the room because they're not hallucinating. So even the medication doesn't take it away, but usually what it does is it puts them to sleep. And like Kristen said too, it suppresses their respiratory system, and they may not wake back up. You may not have that opportunity again to do that. I personally, I have a tendency to kind of suggest to people that they may want to hold off on the hallucinatory medications just in case they want to connect with the other side. As far as the pain medication and things like that, because the dehydration causes cramping in their legs and things like that, sometimes the pain medication for their comfort is necessary that way. When they're not able to complain about the pain, or when they start to have that fruity smell to their breath because of dehydration or running a little bit of a fever, they do need, even some Tylenol to take the edge off of that fever measures. So, that's, and like I said, we have a protocol to follow, legally, and it's not alert enough to refuse for themselves. The only other person that you can get to negate that is the power of attorney, which then goes into effect at that time if the person's not able to speak for themselves.
I'm glad both of you sort of enlightened me.
That's sweet.
The thing that would kind of elongate it maybe is having IV fluids. That is not necessary fluids, but the oxygen is a must for and drying up their secretions a little bit, some medication for that, so that they're not gurgling, and feeling that inability to breathe when it's already getting hard.
Right. And also we go in as well and we help them as well, swab and things. And yes.
Anne-Marie says she's heard spirits say it's not time yet as well. And our friend Reggie, the cemetery master, maybe that'll be his new name.
Oh, I like that. You gotta change that name.
And we're gonna bring him right on.
There he is,
buddy.
There you
Hi.
Can you hear us? Yeah. Hey, you sound good. Sound better. Nobody's bowling there.
No. I was just gonna say that.
Just kidding. That sounds good.
Can you hear us? Nope. I don't know.
Yeah, I can hear you fine. I can hear you fine.
We're going to start calling you the cemetery master.
Woohoo! Cemetery master.
And Let's shift gears a little bit. We started
Yeah,
off
it was-
on
it's
like,
being-
you
I'm
know,
sorry,
why are they in cemeteries? And actually, I wanted Reggie's comments on that. That he's he
Reggie,
needs a moment.
again.
Um, I don't know. The Earthbound thing, you know, we said things like lack of imagination or less travel. What do you think about these earthbound spirits? Like, are they hanging in cemeteries because people come to visit them? Is that a possibility? I'll put that out to everyone.
There's all, it can be all sorts of different reasons why because they have that mobility, they have that option. They can go, basically, if they're spirits and they're not ghosts, they can go back and forth. I
think
know.
Go ahead.
We had a particular gentleman at the Historical Society who was one of the chiefs that passed, and it was like a month later I started physically trying to contact him, and we were there were two of us, and we finally got him to come through, and he was there for a couple of days, and then he left, and then there was nothing again, and then we tried to get him again. It took a while, and then he said that he had gone back to his house to see his wife. So, you know.
Wow. There you go. A couple comments out here. Linda says, does grief keep some spirits from crossing over? And it kind of goes with that. Anne Marie says, I think some are stuck because of their beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
So to Anne Marie's point, I think like religion and things like that, fear of judgment, like you mentioned, Lynn, at the front of the show, that the ghost that was,
Yes.
you know, flashing people.
Yes, in reference to grief, it does not stop them from crossing over, but elongated grief does create a kind of sucking effect for them that does kind of anchor them here while they're also on the other side. They're very busy on the other side with schooling and all kinds of things like that. And that's what I've learned. So, and then with the other question, what was the other question?
It said, I think some are stuck here because of their beliefs.
Yes, that's very true. That's very, very true.
But the person that thinks he's committed every crime possible, and he's a Catholic, and he's going to burn in hell.
You think judgment? It's judgment, right?
Yeah, he's not going to.
And there is no judgment. Once you get to the other side, you're not judged. You judge yourself. When you have your life review, you are placed in every situation. But not only are you placed in every situation, you are able to see the rippling effect of your behaviors and your choices, whether they're good or bad. You'll be able to feel the emotions of the feeling of the kid that you bullied in school, and the rippling effect of that. You're able to feel the kindness that you displayed to, picking up a box of kittens on the side of the road, and how that ripple effect, because all of that counts. The things that people on earth think that count, oh, gee, I'm a good person, I pay my taxes, I drive the speed limit, that's all fine and dandy. But the things that are really, really important are the selfless acts of love and kindness to another person. And those are the things that are more important than anything. I mean, stopping and giving the homeless man a bottle of water, not money, because he doesn't need the money, but a bottle of water. Again, picking up a box of kittens and making sure they get to a safe place. There's kindnesses, mowing the elderly woman's yard that she can't get out there and push the lawnmower. These physical acts, the loving acts of selflessness, are the things that are the most important.
Well, here's the thing. Okay. And this is a good topic that's kind of related to this. And probably people will wrap up with this topic because we've been on for a couple hours. But I think this is a good one we can dig into a little bit. People go to investigations, and this is glorified in the TV shows, and they yell at the ghosts. They yell at the spirits and everything's a demon, blah, blah, blah. And they're passing judgment. Their excuse for this is that the people they're talking to are negative people, which may in fact be the case, right? They're saying it's okay to do so. Are we really in a position to pass judgment on a deceased?
I don't think that we're in a position to pass judgment on anything. We're not in that position to be placing judgment. However, having some I can't think of the word, some precaution or some caution, because they can sometimes be dark entities. But the yelling and screaming at them isn't necessary.
No.
Something very, it is not necessary. They can hear you just like we're speaking, that sort of thing, and still a loving, offering to help them cross over. A lot of these people that go in on these shows, they're looking to get the notoriety and to make money. And I hope I'm not upsetting anybody in the room, but It is true. I mean, I've actually had a person one time, ask me, well, can you tell me what's going on here? But I don't want you to help anybody cross over because, then there are no ghosts, to come and to have people come and see or go on tours for, things like that. So, that's my belief. It's not necessary to yell at them. Some of them truly are spirits that are trapped here for whatever reason. And they have the right to choose. They don't have to cross over if they don't want to. So I think that kind of answers.
Absolutely.
Maybe not completely.
Thank you.
Very good. Greg?
I was just looking at what Dr. Mike said, and he said wrong. And I was wondering if he couldn't clarify that.
Excellent.
I think he was saying, he put that when
yeah.
I was describing the question. But let me see. He says the creator, maybe it's in reference to something else. The creator does not judge. The creator is love.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
That's basically what
I
he
don't think he
said.
was saying you were wrong. I think it was in reference to something else. So sorry.
Yes.
I put the comments up after.
I thought it had something to do with some other comment.
Bunch of
Is
them.
what I thought.
I think it had to do with like you go in and you like be mean to them and things.
Well, I'm saying
I just
even judge.
Go ahead, Reggie.
I saw a comment go across about there's only one that can make a judgment, and that's God.
Yeah.
And I think that might be what the wrong was about. Maybe.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That kind of makes
we don't
sense.
know.
What he said. Okay.
I don't know, but
Yelling at the ghost, he's saying.
Yes,
is wrong.
yelling at the ghost. That's what I figured.
It is wrong. Yeah.
It's very wrong. You don't do that. You go into everything with respect and love from your heart. And
That's
they
right.
actually can feel that, as we know, when we
Let's
go
say
in and-
you're at
and
you're in a
respect
murder
you.
house of sorts, and it is some pedophile that has killed 14 people and raped God knows how many children.
Oh,
I mean, all right. So it gets to be like a hot topic, and you start to put children involved, and people start to go, "Oh, well, maybe it is okay to yell at them." But are we in a position to judge?
Where you don't know the circumstances, and I'm not trying to say that what the person's act was right, but you don't know if it's a debt being repaid. Maybe those children were the perpetrators to other people, in a different lifetime or something like that. So you don't really know. And also, the quickest way to make a demon run from a room is to send it love. I mean, they'll run like there's a stench in the room because they don't have the capability of that emotion. It's foreign to them. So, definitely, just send them. And what I say to you is you could almost like radiate it from your chest through thought, and you can see it almost like sonar going out to them, and they will start moving back. I one time just my son was shocked at what I did. We were in a house together, and I said, "Oh, okay." There were a whole bunch of very negative spirits in this house. That was one of the ones that we did the fire thing on that you had asked about. Mm-hmm. And I said, "Okay, I'm going to teach a class on love. Come on, everyone. Come on, everybody in the room. Let's talk about love. I love you. I love you. I love you." He said that the spirits just scattered out of the room so fast, like something was smelly. I kid you not.
I believe it.
I believe it.
They lit their pants on fire.
I think
no joke.
Right? Is that what happened to our pants, Greg?
Oh, there you go.
They caught fire. I think negative attracts negative and positive attracts positive, right?
Exactly.
So want to get rid of something, mix them up. That's
right. So Reggie, when you go into cemeteries anywhere, do you You don't yell at ghosts. We know you. So spirits.
My
That.
my personal opinion of it, I'll say it's an opinion, but again, this is where I have trouble wording things.
It's okay. I am the same way. He calls me a haunted bag of squirrels. I can't say anything. So go right ahead. Try it.
A lot of these locations, there are like maybe lower frequency ghosts or energies that have tried so hard for so long to communicate their story.
Mhm.
And there's so many people going in just simply to try and catch them on camera. Oh, you know,
or on tape or video or something.
right.
Yes.
And you know, some of them probably get frustrated.
Yeah, they're not
Mhm.
monkeys.
And they might be in the corner
true.
just saying, all right, I'm going to get them. Forget them. They're egos. They're just yelling at me. I'm going to throw this chair. I mean, I know that's what I'd be doing.
It's true. That's like him one day.
I'd lift their whole camera tripod up and float it across the room as a ghost if I could. You know, just to like make them run out of there.
Exactly.
And so the first thing I do if I feel like something negative is just simply ask my guides to let them know it's okay to talk. I'm here to listen to them. And I can hear my guides through the white noise and everything, you know, letting some in, get closer, things like that. And they'll start talking. Now, I might not hear them in real time because they are kind of lower. But at home, when I'm doing my review of my recordings, I can hear the first time I went to this particular cemetery so much more at home than what I could hear while I was there. But the next time I went in, I knew right what spot to go to. I knew who it was, basically, and what they said. And then I can go to the cemetery and say, someone here said the last time I was here, for example, I don't know why I was just a fool. That was one of my most phenomenal ones. And Dora Windus at St. Michael's in Portage, Wisconsin. I didn't know who she was, you know. And you go in the next time and you know what they said. You can repeat that. Someone here told me this or that. And the next thing you know, you're getting full audio response from them.
Mm-hmm.
Because they know you acknowledge them. And I call them here to the apartment all the time. Here, this is like the first time public's ever seen this. Okay. look at my little energy station here.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
I have everything from that's the security monitor.
Jeepers crow.
You see, you guys are on a 55-inch television up there, so I can read the comments. I mean, I've got it.
Yep, I understand that perfectly well.
I've got all the gadgets all around me. I've got, but yeah, that's what I think. I think there's so many ghosts and I apologize if there's any fans in the audience here, but when Zach Bagans goes like this, there's probably 15 ghosts around him going.
Exactly. Sorry.
You know, come on, you know. I mean, 10 seasons ago, that man would hear a knock and go, "Ooh, did you hear that?" And now season 25, he hears a knock and he's running over Aaron to get out of the room. I mean, after 25 seasons, you would think, you know, you should be used to this kind of thing.
Right.
Never mind.
Be a little comfortable with it.
Yeah.
Maybe a little.
But here, I've been rambling. I apologize.
No,
No, it's great.
We've been waiting patiently to hear
Been
from you.
waiting for you.
Oh, and now you're going to quit. You're going to stop the show right after I got back. I see how it is.
No, I shouldn't go a little longer.
You know,
There is no.
the thing that you were mentioning too about them yelling at them, that type of force coming for them actually represents a type of fear. And if there is, pardon me,
it's negative.
It is a negative.
Yeah.
And it's and that negative act, if there is any kind of demonic activity or poltergeist activity in the room, they feed on the negativity and it strengthens them so that they are able to do more physical acts. So you don't want to go in there with a negative. You want to go in there with the opposite. So yeah.
I think that's great.
I've learned that.
We've
very
learned that as well too.
And I'm going to spit up one more question here. Cheyenne says, how many of you are born with the gift?
I guess.
I think we all are.
Kristen say yes. Says yes.
Yeah.
We all are. I mean, everybody is.
Do you feel you were born?
Reggie, put your hand up.
Oh.
Yeah. I think a lot of people don't realize they have it when
everybody
is.
You know.
Everybody was born gifted.
Yes.
As a star seed, especially when you enter that womb as a soul, as a star seed, you know already beforehand when your awakening's planned to be. Mine just happened to be into my 40s.
Jesus. Well,
yeah.
So there you go.
Everybody's gifted. And when
we're screwed.
Earlier when she was talking about children, that have invisible friends, I didn't hang out with anybody. I had picnics. I had a bunch of stuffed animals lined up around a picnic table and the whole nine, anytime that, it bothers me when people say, oh, it's just their invisible friend or whatever. And they're really talking to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
They are.
Yeah.
I had those picnics. We understand.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But
mine were just negative when I was little. So that's why I got into this later in life.
Yeah, a lot of our guests, and we say this a lot, have had haunted childhoods. I find that to be a common factor we do with our guests. Having done this for a few years now, we've had a lot of guests over time, and almost all of them, and it's not everybody, but it's almost all of them, have had some sort of paranormal childhood. But folks, it's 11:11. It's time to make a wish.
Oh,
Eric, at least
Dale,
here on the East Coast.
And Linda.
Some of you guys are not on the East Coast, so you don't even appreciate that. No, I'm just kidding. Linda Morris,
that's my number.
I had a question for you. If I buy Lynn's books off her website, are they autographed? Lynn,
yes, they actually come directly from me. And I do autograph them for you. As a matter of fact, when it flags me when the purchase is made. I was having some problems with my, anyway, I've gotten them fixed. If for some reason you have any issue with purchasing my book, please let Kristen or Chris know so that I'm aware of it. But they come directly from me, and I do ask you if you want them signed. I ask you who, you want me to make it out to, because sometimes they're being purchased as gifts. Please, do buy them from me. For me, it's not so much about the money, it's about getting the knowledge out there. However, if you are going to buy it, I would appreciate it. My first book, Amazon has basically stolen. As of June of last year, they had sold 68,000, 38 copies, and literally paid me $525 for it.
Come on.
So yeah, I kid you not. It just released in India and Australia. And it's in New Zealand. It's all over the world, but I'm not getting any of that money. I got $12 from them last month.
Jeff Bezos needs to steal from you.
Yeah, right, exactly. And I live paycheck to paycheck. I'm a single mom, so I would appreciate it if you would purchase them through my website so that, I'm sure that you want for me to benefit from it. And again, it's not about the money for me. I want you to have the information more so. But I would appreciate it if you do.
What is the website they should be going to?
It's www.lynnmonet.com.
Okay, and that's spelled Lynnmonet. MONET.
Yes, .com.
All right. Some people will hear this and they're not
Yes.
watching, and it'll be a podcast. Most
Thank you
likely.
so much.
So
Very welcome.
that's fantastic. Greg, you have the Shadow Hour on tomorrow night. Where can people find that, and who you having on?
That's on the Shadow Hunters Paranormal Investigations and Events page. And tomorrow night, I have some very, very, very great people. I have Ron Iacovetti, excuse me, and his partner, whose name is I'm going to mess her name up. I know I am.
Sorry to put you on the spot with
No,
that.
yeah.
No, wait a minute. I have it here. Lord.
That's Shadow Hunters Paranormal is what they should look for on Facebook, right? To get to the page.
Yes, sir. It's okay. Here we go. It's Lord's, but it's the way you pronounce it. It's Lourdes. Lourdes.
Yes.
Gonzalez, and she's Ron's partner, and they do a thing that's called direct radio voice.
Yeah, DRV.
So they're not using a radio sweep; they're using just straight radio waves, and they have conversations. There's going to be a lot of recordings that he's been very nice and going ahead, and he'll be presenting those during the show. So I do a big thing with a lot of people with ITC, and I enjoy them immensely and all the different ways they look at things and how they try to communicate. And it's been my little mini awakening, like
what works
my spirituality, and it's great. And there's some more of these same people that have come about because of me seeing them at a round table one night discussing different things as far as IT, instrumental transcommunication, for anybody that doesn't understand that.
That's right. And your Wednesday show is called Metaphysical Crossings, and that is focused on ITC, and we've been lucky enough to be on that show a few times.
I want to make sure that we continue to do that.
Absolutely.
And it's great to the respect that I don't know when you guys came on the other night, but after the end of the show, but if you had seen the other show, it was the same thing again. The voices that are coming through we're starting to familiarize ourselves with them. So some of them are the same. Every once in a while, we'll get a little switch as far as the amount of female voices we have to male voices. And the bantering back and forth between the questions and our answers will be between two people that are done the same way in a double Estes. And the answers that come back, we'll be going back and forth with them.
That's right.
And that's happened numerous times, and it's really cool.
It is really cool. It is cool.
And you guys are just a great team to have on the show. I mean, that's without a doubt. I mean, I just love you guys to death. And when you do that, Kristen, when you go like this with your hand,
yes, to my heart.
You are the.
I'm sorry.
It means so much that you are that sincere, and I can sense your sincerity in when you do it.
Thank you.
You could do it 30 times a day, and I wouldn't take it anything any less.
Thank you so much. Yes, it's my heart to yours. It's my heart to everyone. It's the way I feel.
Lynn, it's awesome too.
It's an awesome show. Reggie, I wanted to give you some time too, because you have a page as well.
Yes.
Your page is Led to the Light Productions, I believe.
Oh yeah. I'm sorry. I started tearing up listening to Greg and.
I know.
Tearing up.
Yeah, I'm very sentimental. Spirit can feel that.
I know. You know, you're
Every
a great
time
guy.
I feel I feel pure love. it hits me. You know.
Thank you.
Yes, you are a lovely person. Yeah. I was tearing up too. I mean, it was very touching what you said, Greg. Yeah, beautiful. And it's so true and well deserved.
I
I
there's
have
a lot of people that are in the room, and they're all that same kind of caliber, except Kristen has always been very special in that respect.
Thank you guys so much. Make me blush and cry. Thanks.
Nice. You've left a red-faced crying girl with me.
Oh,
Thank you,
well,
guys.
just give her a hug. Oh, but
Yeah, all I needed.
We would all hug you if we were there.
that's
I'm
right.
I'm interested to see
I-
what kind of energy I
Yes.
would get from the hug. And I said this last night, didn't I? Were you when I brought that up? I said that there are certain people that I've met on my shows that I would just love to be able to just hug, and it would give you the same feeling. And I'm going to just say this, and don't take it like the only way I can describe it is like a giant vibrator. Energy is so supreme.
Let's not even go there.
No, but I mean, you know, the energy
To the front of the
is so
show.
supreme that you just
Well-
literally just vibrate. You
No,
can vibrate right out of your shoes.
no, but I
Man.
understand.
I'll get my mind out of the gutter on that one.
Hold
No,
on,
I'm
Fred.
sorry.
It wasn't meant in that way.
I
I
understand
realize
the
that.
I
feeling
gotta
because
bring up the
Chris,
gourds.
I've talked to Chris about this before, and I'm like, I can't wait to hug these people. I can't wait to meet these people in person, just hug them. So I understand that feeling. So thank you so much for saying that.
It sounds to me like I'm gonna have to plan a road trip where I swing down through Wisconsin, pick up Greg, and head straight to the East Coast.
You did.
Pick up
You
Lynn.
both, you all
head
would
north.
love it down here. We are. Just,
Where are you at, Chris and Kristen?
We're up in New England. You're in.
I'm in South Carolina.
Okay. I go to the state.
Yeah.
I know it's one of the Carolinas, but I just wanted to say, if somebody hugged me right now, I would pee because I have to.
Nah,
Okay. And I didn't mean to bring it into the gutter. It's just that it was. Never mind.
Oh
It was
no.
funny,
We like to
believe
go to
me.
here.
you didn't bring it. You didn't bring the gutter. Greg's the one that said vibrator.
but it's
I don't know what other word to use for that. What else can you
The vibration.
Yeah.
Vibration.
Yeah.
Where
I
is
mean,
he
when you
on
come
the
together,
Yeah.
it's just
Higher
Forget it.
frequencies.
Yes, a very,
Yeah.
very high frequency. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh
okay,
God.
oh my God, here we go.
Oh, the guy playing with
We
his.
gotta go there.
If
Oh no,
beginning of our show,
no,
we
no.
discussed this statue. Just
no,
saying.
I don't want to look at that.
Oh.
Say, what is
And
You guys need to go put your pants on anyway.
That's right.
the original
These tattoos
the
gotta go to the
original
bathroom.
the original question there, it's led to the
Yeah.
Light Productions on Facebook. It's just a simple group that I designed. Anyone that's on my friends list, I invite them into the group, and I periodically will post a video or whatever. If it kind of blows my mind, I'll go ahead and post it. And it's I have several accounts. It's the one with the profile picture of a blue head sideways, Reginald Randall. If you want to look it up and friend me, I'll invite you to the group to kind of see some of the videos. There's a few cemetery ones. And
Yes.
Yeah, you've got some good
It was
stuff
some
up there.
really great stuff.
And,
We all need to get together. We really do. Like in person. I love this. Yes.
And as mentioned, there's you've got your house wired up, so some good videos there. So look for that. Led to the Light Productions, www.lynnmonet.com, spelled LYNNMONET. And you can find Greg on the two places. If you're searching on Facebook, you can find the Shadow Hour by looking for Shadow Hunters Paranormal and Investigations. Shadow Hunters. We'll bring you to the Shadow Hour that's on Friday nights. And Wednesday nights is Metaphysical Crossings on those same pages.
And sometimes we are on.
And occasionally we're on them. We've been on both shows. We're very fortunate.
Yes,
so
we are very fortunate.
we appreciate that. And there's a lot of love in the room. We love all of you guys back. And there goes the cat ball. Just to say,
love, baby, love.
Love coming at you.
It's been great. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you so much, guys.
Awesome.
And
Thank you
you
so much
everybody
for
in our
joining
audience
us.
tonight. I know Anne Marie Young, you just went to bed. Thank you, Linda Judd. Thank you, Barbara.
Good night,
Thank
Ann,
you.
I love you.
Everybody that joined us, but it's a big old crowd of people, Joanne and everyone else.
Great crowd.
We really appreciate it. Thank you.
I
We'll
love
see
you all with all my heart.
Saturday.
And thank you so much for
Thank you.
inviting all. I mean, me too. Thank you so much. It's been
You're
a
very
great.
welcome.
You guys stick around.
Having us.
We'll
Okay.
have- Thanks, guys.
I'll be around.
I'll message you.